Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. This is Samantha from Crafty Chicks Corner, and I wanted to bring you a Christmas card that we are doing at my local coffee shop class. We're using the Perfectly Plaid bundle, which is a clear photopolymer stamp set, and the coordinating punch. So the punch actually coordinates with this designer series paper from the wrapped in plaid set that we're going to be using today. And we're going to be using the cherry cobbler ink and shaded spruce and crumb cake cardstock. So let's get down to it. We're going to start by cutting the base for our card. Now, we do carry some 12 by 12 cardstock, but most of our cardstock is 8.5 by 11, and it makes making a card very easy. So we are going to cut this at 5.5. Now I have the new Stampin' Up paper trimmer. At the time of filming this, I'm not exactly sure when it'll be available for customers. But if you would like to join as a demonstrator and get early access to new items like this, you can check me out at craftychickscorner.com or shoot me a message and I'll get you all the info for that. But the new trimmer has a line straight down the arm, sorry, excuse me, that pulls out. And it is at 5.5 inches, which is very handy because I cut 5.5 inches a lot. And then we're gonna score it at 4.25. Now the paper trimmer does come with a cut blade, which is the darker one I used first, and a score blade, which I like that a lot. It just makes it a lot easier to fold. And then I'm going to use my bone folder and just crease that. And set it aside. And we're going to cut our crumb cake, which we're just going to cut it slightly smaller to border this whole card here. So I always like to have an 1/8 inch border on each side. So, sorry, excuse me. I like to do an 1/8 inch border on each side. So I like to cut my mats at 4 by 5.25. So we're going to go 5.25. Five, 4. And that's just your standard mat sizing. Makes it really easy to line up. And then if you put an 1/8 inch at each side, nice little look. So we're going to again now cut our pattern paper 1/4 inch or an 1/8 inch all the way around, smaller than this. So we are going to do 3 3/4. Now this, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but this wrapped in plaid designer series paper, it's beautiful on both sides. But the gold foil side is very, very nice. So we're going to do that. We did it 3 3/4, and then we're going to go at 5 inches. Okay, and then they're going to mat right on top of each other. With a nice little border there. Now I'm going to take a piece of scrap Whisper White, And the reason I'm doing a scrap is because I'm going to add some paper and I want to make sure I have some room here. So that looks like about right for what I want to add down here. So let's see how long this scrap is. Now, do you work with grid paper underneath your stamping area? I love to have my grid paper handy because, like in this case, I can see that this is 4 3/4 across. And I want it about 1 1/8 inch long or thick. So I'm gonna cut it at 1 1/8 inch. And we're going to be using the Merry Christmas from the Perfectly Plaid. So, yep, that's what I'm looking for. Just want it a little bigger than the stamp itself. And now we're going to take the other part of our other half of our piece from our crumb cake, and we're going to cut it just a little bigger. So if we want an 1/8 inch border on each side from 1 1/8, we're going to go 1 3/8. And we want it the same width as the crumb cake that is matted. So that's perfect because we had already cut it once, so we know that that's the right length. Okay, and now we're going to assemble. First, we're going to do some stamping. I mean, that is why you came here, right? Some stamping. So we're going to stamp on our white. And the reason that I always stamp first is because I like, in case I mess up, don't apply the right pressure, don't get enough ink or something. Paper has 2 sides and I can just flip it over and try again. So, a few of my colors are still the old style ink pad. I'm slowly switching over. But I do want this lined up straight, so I'm going to use my grid paper again just to line it up like that. And we want it as far to your right hand as possible, with just a little bit of a border. And I'll show you why in just 1 second, because we still need to punch. There we go. Beautiful. I just love how clean and crisp our stamped images are. That noise you keep hearing is me moving my chair because I do that a lot. So we are going to take the designer series paper that had these trees on it. As you can see, the other side is this blue and shaded spruce with the gold foil. But we are actually going to stamp or punch our trees. So the punch lines up perfectly. And this makes this a great mass-producing card. When you can punch like this and get the most out of your product, it makes it so nice. Now these 2 trees are still usable. I just didn't trim it up before I started my video. For my classes, I cut it in strips so that they could just flip it over. And we're going to need 3 of these little pretty trees. And now we'll start assembling. I'm going to use the Stampin' Up! Snail adhesive, sort of my go-to adhesive in card making. Some people are all about the liquid glue. I just struggle with it for when I don't like to be sticky. And liquid glue gets me sticky. But I do use it sometimes when I'm die cutting and things like that, but just use your favorite adhesive. Now, as you notice, I did start gluing with the outside layer first. I do that just because lining up seems to work better for me. It might just be the way my brain works. But instead of having two colors when I'm trying to line up, I only have one. So my eyes don't get distracted. And like I said, I just like to leave an 1/8 of an inch border around all sides. There you go. Go. And then we're going to glue 2 of our trees flat. And I'm going to overlap them just a little bit because we're looking at like a forest of trees. And then I'm going to use my dimensionals and pop this last tree up right in the middle. And 2 should be good. And there we go. And then just to top this card off, and the reason I left this little blank space here, I'm actually going to add just a couple pearls to bring out the gold. I'm going to use our metallic pearls that come in gold and silver. Let's do 1. 2. And 3. So there you go, a quick and easy Christmas card using the Wrapped in Plaid bundle, perfectly plaid bundle with the Wrapped in Plaid Designer Series paper. If you'd like the PDF instructions with all the dimensions and everything in written form, you can check out my website at craftychickscorner.com. Have a great day.